Morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Monday, the ninth day of December 2024. I hope you had a good weekend. Happy Monday to you. And I hope your family had a good weekend together with you and that you and your family are safe and healthy. Speaking of health, blessings upon those that work in the healthcare field who work alongside first responders every day trying their best to save people's lives. Also those that pick up garbage to keep places and streets and sidewalks clean, and those that make deliveries such as mail for our convenience. Double blessings on the men and women out here trying to help rescue, deliver, and recover teenagers and children that are victims of child molestation and pedophilia. People that are also victims of prostitution, child prostitution, pornography, child pornography, human trafficking, and sex slavery. Double curses on the perpetrators, double curses on the profiteers, and double curses on the perverts that make these industries exist. Finally, double blessings on the homeless. Nearly 600,000 men, women, children, families homeless in the United States of America. More than 600,000. And more than millions around the world in similar or worse conditions. Blessings upon them. For theirs is the kingdom. There's a scheduled game tonight, a basketball game in Toronto, Canada. The New York Knicks are visiting to Toronto Raptors today, and they're going to be playing in their 24th game. Now, the Knicks go into this game 14-9. This game, I think, if I'm not mistaken, this, yes, it's the only NBA game on. It's the only NBA game being played today. And it's on NBA TV. So there's going to be a lot of attention to this game. Now, we understand that the El Gato Grande as well as Cameron Payne are both listed as questionable. Grande with the knee, as far as a little soreness in his knee, and Cam with the soreness in his elbow. Now, we're going to assume they're not going to play. If we get them, that would be great. But let's assume the worst case scenario. So let's say they won't play. You're still going to have Precious Achua, and you're still going to have Deuce McBride, and you're still going to have OG Anunoby. Now, why do I bring up those particular players? Well, last year, first of all, it's obvious OG and Precious were traded from Toronto to New York. Now, OG wanted this move. Don't know if Precious wanted it or not, but he came here, and I'm sure he's a New Yorker, so he likes it. But all players are extra incentivized when they play against former teams. These guys are no exception. Last year, after the trade, the Knicks played Toronto twice. Now, the OG played in the first game. I don't think he played in the second game because of the elbow. The first game, he was 14 points, 7 boards. That game was dominated by Jalen Brunson, who had 38 points, 9 assists. There was a guy named Julius Randle that had a triple-double, 18 points, 16 boards, 10 assists in that game. But Precious Achua had 18 points off the bench, 18 points, 11 boards. Played 25 minutes, okay? The second time, Precious had 19 points and 12 boards and played about 27 minutes. So he really gets hyped to play against Toronto. Now, we know RJ has been on a tear recently, and he's going to be hyped to play against New York. Now, they won't have Quick today. He's out. But they got the rest of their crew, Scotty Barnes, the rest of their team is going to be, there. And so they still could beat us, right? So what we need to do, of course, they're going to have to come up with energy. And again, that's been kind of the watchword, the theme, I would say, in the beginning of the season has been energy. When the Knicks have great energy, when they come out as a group with great energy, they usually win. They usually win the game. When they come out with poor energy, as they've been doing in the first quarters recently, and we saw a loss against Detroit. And a lot of the times before now, the energy level is tied to their schedule and the amount of personnel they have available. For most of this season, put it this way, most of the 23 games they have already played, they have not had the full contingent of their rotation, which means the starting five, which we know, and then Precious, Deuce, Cameron Payne or Shamet, and of course Mitchell Robinson. These players have been missing, and Precious just played his first game I believe it was against Precious's first game was a couple of games ago. A game that we played, let's see, against Charlotte. That was Precious' first game. And then he played against Detroit on Saturday. So this will be his third game back. We're missing Karen Payne. Deuce missed 5 games, and we still haven't gotten back Mitchell Robinson. But when we could get Precious, Deuce, and Payne together, that's, and we've already seen flashes of that, or Shaman, the Knicks will be dynamic. And of course, we go to another level when Mitchell Robinson comes back. But I think they can be really, really good, terrorizing the league before Mitchell Robinson gets here. So today, we will look at Precious. We'll have Deuce. I don't know. Let's assume we don't have Payne. If we do, it'll be good. And then you'll have either Jericho Sims or Hukporti. Now, the odds are, Tibbs probably goes back to Sims. But he did bring Hukporti off the bench in the last game. He did play him 15 minutes. Jericho Sims only played 6 minutes. And that was the second time that happened this week. Jericho Sims played 3 minutes against Charlotte. And he's playing, and Gato played most of that game. And then he played 6 minutes against Detroit. And the majority of those minutes went to Precious. Okay, in this last game, the majority of those minutes went to Precious. So, Tom Thibodeau is a creature of habit. He trusts his veterans, and so we wouldn't be surprised if we saw Sims start or get some minutes. But also, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Hukporti. Now, if Hukporti is going to get minutes, that means Precious Achua will start, and I think that should be the case. I'm agreeing with that. If you're going to mess around, like if Sims, for whatever reason, is not performing well, I think Precious will come in. He's undersized, obviously, at the 5, but this is not a permanent situation. And again, Precious has shown himself way more than capable of playing that position. He's out of position, but that's how good he is. He could play the power forward, obviously. That's his natural position, but he could play the 5. Just like Beef Stew over in Detroit. This is interesting, that dynamic from last week when they played against each other, because that's the way both of them played. Beef Stew came off the bench and played 23 minutes and scored 6 points, had 5 rebounds. He's a defensive roughneck. But Precious, I think, is a little better. He's on a little higher level, and I like Beef Stew. So Precious could play the 5. His natural position is the 4, and he can do them both at a high level, especially when you surround him with Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, and Jalen Brunson. That becomes a very dynamic team. So I wouldn't be surprised if Precious started, and I wouldn't be surprised if Sims started. Hukporti is not going to start, but he may get Sims minutes today. That's going to be the key here. I think stability-wise, if you want to really have a stable starting 5 and get the most out of your bench, I think you start Precious. I think you play McBride with Hukporti, and you go with them 7 guys for the most part. You get Sims in there for a couple minutes, maybe 7, 8 minutes to give a spell, a breather, but I think you do that, okay? Now, if he goes with Sims as the starter, okay, that's it. That's Tibbs' call. We'll go with that. But based on what has happened the last 2 games, I think we're going to have a little different scenario today. But regardless, the Knicks are going to come with energy today. And that's the key. They're going to start the game with energy. They're going to play with energy. Jalen Brunson's been doing that last couple of games. He was the only guy in the starting 5 that came with energy against Detroit. The rest of them did not. So hopefully, and they took time warming up, getting ready. Hopefully, as Jalen Brunson says, the game starts at 7:30. You should be ready to play at 7:30. And that's absolutely the truth. The game starts at 7:30. They need to be ready to play at the highest level at 7:30. And I really do, because Tibbs his teams don't do that 2 games in a row. And then you got the personnel that we have that is not going to do that 2 games in a row. So I'm expecting them to come out with high energy. That means good perimeter defense. The energy level often dictates the defense. they're going to have good defense. If they start Precious, I'm very confident in lockdown defense. They'll be a little undersized, but I'm not worried about it. And then you're going to have Hukporti with Deuce coming off the bench. Now, the problem with Hukporti, and I said this yesterday, and I'm stressing it again, Hukporti has talent. Most people don't understand. Everybody in the NBA has talent. Even Sims has talent. But one of the problems Sims had, if you notice after the game, they ask a couple of players, namely OG and Macau, what went wrong on the defense? And did you hear what they said? They said, we weren't talking. There was no communication. The main communicator on defense is the center. That's why it's one of the toughest positions to learn. The main communicator on the defense is the guy that's at the 5. Okay? So what they were really saying was Sims wasn't giving us proper communication. So that's the problem with Hukporti. It's not his fault. He's a rookie. But it takes time to learn how to do that. Mitchell Robinson didn't really learn how to do that until DeAndre Jordan came to the Knicks. And I think that was in Mitch Rob's 3rd year. That's why it's the toughest position to learn. You got to know what your opponent is running. You got to call it out. You got to call out picks and screens. You got to call out switches. That's what the 5 guy does. Okay? So when they're not doing that, you get missed assignments. And that's what you saw against Detroit, missed assignments. Gato, of course, he could do that. And he does it at a high level, which is why you don't get a lot of missed assignments. Mitch Rob, high level. He does it. I believe Precious must do it because they usually don't have missed assignments and Precious is out there. The missed assignments are miscommunication, and miscommunication comes from the 5 spot. Okay? So, Hukporti is talented. He can move well. He's got great hands. He's athletic. But he has to learn how to call out defenses. And that's why he has diminishing returns after 10, 15 minutes because it starts to catch up to him. Okay, so that's the limitation for him. But it's temporary. Like I said, by the end of this season, going into next season, he should be able to start picking that up. It's like we was talking about yesterday. The speed of the NBA game is a situation that all rookies deal with. Some better than others. Usually the older cats, the 23, 24, 25-year-old cats coming into the league, if they're going to play in the league, they pick it up. But the younger guys, 19-year-old R.J. Barrett, 18-year-old, 19-year-old Pacoum Daddier, it takes a little bit of time to pick up the speed of the game, okay? And so at the 5 spot especially. So that's going to be the problem with Hukporti today, okay? And that's why I don't know if Tibbs is going to play him or Sims. Sims just didn't communicate well, which is an anomaly because he's been playing with the Knicks now 4 years. So he should know what he's doing there. I don't know what happened to him, but that's a problem. So I wouldn't be surprised if he started Sims or at least played Sims off the bench. We'll see. But that's the issue. Energy, 2 issues. And communication from the 5 spot on the defensive side of the basketball. So hopefully, I'm very confident both of those will be addressed for tonight. I'm very confident in that. I can't guarantee a win. I don't like to do that. It's a bad omen. But I'm very confident both of those issues, the energy issue and the communication issue, will be addressed or has been by the time they tip off tonight. Okay, so I'm looking for a big game from Precious Achiuwa. I'm looking for a big game from OG Anunoby because when he played against them last year, he was the 3rd option. It was Brunson and Julius, and they both performed very well. And that's why Anunoby would have 14 points and 7, 8 rebounds because he was 3rd option and he was focused on defense as he should, which he's going to do today. But as we know, OG is now a bigger part of the offense. He's a bigger part. His open threes on the wing, he nails them at a very high level. He gets them. He moves without the basketball. And so he's more involved with the offense now. In fact, that's why we know the Knicks are averaging 28 assists per game. They're getting almost 30 assists every game. So that's because everybody's involved offensively. But that dynamic is pushed by El Gato Grande. we have to see how that works today with no Cat here. So we'll see. But I'm going to assume Cat doesn't play. I'm going to assume Payne doesn't play. If we get them both, it's a whole different dynamic. If we get them both, because now you're going to have the full contingent of Deuce, Payne, and Precious off your bench, and you're starting Karl Anthony Towns. That's a whole different thing. But let's assume they're not, and that we got to go without them. I still think we're in good shape. Okay. So anyway, enjoy the game tonight. Be safe out there. Sure.